Why does the 7 Years' War always get all the attention? Why do all the theorists seem to start off with the 7 Years' War? Well, arguably, it's because it's the First World War, but also because it is the first war which has everything in. If you want to make the case for a land strategy, for massed armies, for huge forces fighting on shore, you can make it. If you want to make the case for a maritime strategy that is spanning a globe, drawing in all the various factors you can think of, you can make it. And to added benefit, the 7 Years' War is so forgotten. There are none of the really famous namesake actors, especially when we're talking about the 1900s and the late 1800s, well, the 1890s and the 1900s, 1920s, all these sort of periods, when the great theorists are starting to write up. So the 7 Years' War represents this great point. Because what they are really looking for is not history to learn from. Most theorists already have an idea of what they're looking for. They're looking for history to illustrate their point. And their key criteria for that history is it has to be history which people aren't going to be easily able to disagree with. So you want it to be both known, it's the 7 Years' War. Everyone will pretend they at least know it. But you want it to be also unknown, in that you don't want there to be, if you'll have enough information, they can start going, well, are you considering the context of this or the nuance of this? Because the trouble is, with any idea of grand strategy, with any strategical thinking of any kind, it tends to run into trouble once you get into context and nuance, because these things tend to work on the broad strokes. They tend to work in the larger imaginings. But the reality is, as with economic policy, you often need a little bit of this, a little bit of that, to generate a properly nuanced strategy for your country. Because no country can afford to possibly go a pure 100% maritime strategy, and no country can probably afford to go a pure 100% continental strategy. You might well lean towards the maritime. That might be your overarching strategical thinking. Or you might lean towards a continental strategy, and that might be your overarching thinking. But you can't afford to, A, not understand the other, and B, not be prepared to exceed some influence in it. Looking forward to this.